So, today we're going to talk a little bit about Christianity in the Viking Age. Now, if anybody's watched any kind of, pop culture movie on the Vikings and everything like that, they know that the Vikings were predominantly pagan and that the rest of the world was pretty much Christian. That's because by this point in human history, Christianity had spread all over Europe through the efforts of some individuals and through the church itself. What we're going to go through today is the misconceptions of Christianity during the Viking Age, specifically when it comes to the big three Scandinavian countries, which are Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. So, to start off, kind of explain a little bit about this, the stuff that I'm going to be talking about today is not exactly rare knowledge. It's pretty readily available if you really look in, just scratch the surface of the pop culture and you'll find it. But I like to refer to it as uncommon knowledge because the fact is that a lot of people don't know it, but it's not exactly well hidden. It's not like it's a one-line thing in some obscure book that nobody's ever heard about. So today we're just going to go over some of the basics and kind of, look at how that how that affects reenactment as a whole. So first thing, I've got myself a little notebook because I'm not one of those people that can actually, soak in the information and retain it very well. I write down notes and everything like that so that I can, go back later and have all the information without having to memorize every ounce of information ever, because eventually I'm going to forget it. So we'll start with Denmark. So Denmark, believe it or not, actually the first Christians to attempt to take hold in Denmark happened long before the Viking Age. As we know, the Viking Age starts anywhere from 791 to 798, depending on where you get your information. I generally use 792. That seems to be the general date, the general time used for the start of the Viking Age for most of the Viking Age reenactors. So in 710 to 718, Willibrord, the apostle to the Frisians, met up with King Ogdandus and Agentir. I'm butchering these names horribly, I know, but the King of Denmark. So basically the apostle to the Frisians went to Denmark to meet with the King of Denmark at the time. And he writes down in his journals that the king was very respectful but had no interest in conversion to Christianity, but let 30 of the Danish people go to Frisia. And basically this is not in the journals as to why Willibrord took them, but it was, I assume, to convert them to Christianity and use them to help. Not only do I assume, but a lot of people assume that it was to convert them and use them to basically send back home and spread Christianity all throughout Denmark. Now, Ebbo, the Archbishop of Reims, and Wilrijk, the Bishop of Bremen, went to Denmark in 823. Now we're actually within the Viking Age. And they returned multiple times to proselytize without very much success whatsoever. So then, after that, Harold Clark in 826, the King of Jutland, was run out by Horik I and ran to Louis I of Germany, or East Francia. But he was made Duke of Frisia and basically as a price, he converted, and 400 of his retinue of Danes converted as well, to return to Denmark with the monk Ansgar to basically make Denmark a Christian nation by putting Harold Clark in as the king of Denmark, as a Christian king, and then convert everybody to Christianity. Well, he failed in his, and then Ansgar went to the Swedes to establish a Christian community there in a settlement called Birka. So we'll get back to Ansgar once we get back to Sweden. But for now, we're going to continue on. It seems like there was peaceful conversion amongst the Danes for a very long time. Of course, this is, you know, excluding any obscure facts from random books. This is just the surface area knowledge. But it seems like there was a series of peaceful conversions and blending of the two religions and everything like that for a very long time. Harold Bluetooth allowed widespread Christianity in 936 and converted himself to Christianity in 960. And basically this lasted throughout the Viking Age in Denmark, and it wasn't up until 1086 when there was a rebellion in Denmark of both nobles and peasants that didn't want to pay for the monasteries through taxes, and they killed Canute IV. And basically how that turned out was by 1188 they canonized Saint Canute, and basically this is considered the point in which Denmark was totally Christianized. So those last two events were well past the Viking Age. So in Denmark especially, the whole stereotype of you know, Scandinavians being all pagan, and then at the end of the Viking Age, everybody converting by sword point, just didn't really hold up. Now we go to Norway. As far as I'm aware, the first recording of Christianity within Norway, besides from small little incursions, was an attempt to force Christianity in 975. And then again in Olaf I, in 995. He was defeated in a battle in 1000, and there was a massive relapse into paganism in Norway. Olaf II, who came around in 1015, basically stomped out the last of the pagan resistance in his reign of 1015 to 1028. And then in 1152, the Pope had set up basically the church structure of Norway, which basically marked the end of paganism and the totality of Christianity within Norway. Now, this does seem to fit the narrative of what people think of the Viking Age, which is Christians come in and ruin everybody's good time. But for the most part, it happened very fast, it seems like, over the course of, 50 years, basically. Half a century. Now in Sweden, we're going to go back to Ansgar. Ansgar went to the Swedes in 829 and established a Christian community within Birka. He wound up converting a Herrengar, which is basically, Herrengar was a very strong, locally influenced community, a leader within the community, and he was also a counselor to the king. This allowed Christianity to take very strong hold because, as we know, Birka was a very major trade center at the time. Then in 990, King Olaf Skrokonga was already Christian when he ascended to the throne in 990, but he was not powerful enough to violently enforce Christianity until about the 1000s. And basically all through the 11th century, there was eventually cooperation, and they were considered mostly Christian by the 12th century. And by the 12th century, the king, Sigurd the Crusader, crusaded to Samiland and in hopes to finish off the last of paganism within Sweden. As kind of a side note, we'll kind of get into some other regions to kind of get a more broader picture of Christianity. The Rus converted in 867, and it was a very quick and efficient process, and by the 10th century were considered a Christian nation, though they weren't really. The baptism of Vladimir the Great in 988 happened, and then almost immediately after there was the baptism of Kiev, which was baptizing basically everybody in Kiev, making the Rus completely and utterly Christian. Then we have some other portions that kind of put everything into perspective. Remember back with Sigurd the Crusader, who went to Samiland in the 12th century. Well, the Sami pagan religion is still practiced by a large number of people today. It never really died off. It was never very successful. In Greenland, it took Greenland Vikings up until 1721 to be considered the last of paganism in its truest form of the past. So, having the Christians come in and, you know, like just slaughter everybody and everything like that was sort of true, but also sort of not. You had Christianity. There are runestones all over of basically telling about how great it's been since converting to Christianity and everything like that. And when it comes to the Viking Age, the whole Christian pagan struggle isn't exactly as purported. Likely, the reason why we see it as an epic battle of Christianity and paganism when we look at it now is because honestly it was a lot of propaganda, most likely. Most likely having the Danes come and, you know, attack England all over the place and everything like that, and the monks had to come up with some reason why the Danes were doing what they were doing, and were likely just being like, oh, they're just pagans. That's why they're being so mean. But realistically, if you actually look at all the history and everything like that, everybody acted like the Vikings. The Vikings were not any different in how they acted in warfare and everything like that than pretty much anybody else. They just went about it a different way, but everybody was violent. Everybody raped everybody. Everybody did all these things to each other. They burned villages, stole food, everything like that. That was just the way of the world at the time. The Vikings weren't, you know, special in that. They just had a degree of success that allowed them to do it for a long time, successfully. There were many failures within the Viking Age. There's no such thing as a perfect war, but they were relatively successful through the whole of the Viking Age. And so the, you know, predominantly, you know, super Christian enemies that faced them regularly had demonized them in some way by just calling them straight up pagans, even though it was very, very likely that there were Christian Scandinavians burning churches with their pagan Scandinavian friends. There were, you know, Christians slaughtering Christians during the Viking Age that were Vikings. It's the whole thing of the reason that they were from the same community. the community came first. It wasn't necessarily about the religion for them. It was bettering their own community through what they knew. And just like everybody else, you know, you had 7, I think, don't quote me on the exact number, but like at least a half a dozen, I'm pretty sure it was 7 kingdoms through most of the Viking Age in Great Britain, in the British Isles. Actually, just mainland England, Scotland, and Wales. Let's not even include the Irish, because that's a whole nother confusing mess, and we don't really want to get into that. But there were at least 7 kingdoms within mainland England and Scotland and Wales that were constantly fighting each other, and they were all very Christian. They were constantly killing each other, which was part of the reason why the Vikings got away with as much as they did, because when you have 2 armies smacking against each other over in the field over there, what better than to go attack all the places that are no longer being guarded? That's the whole thing of the Viking Age, was that it wasn't necessarily about much about religion as what pop culture likes to portray it as. Of course, there were instances in which it was very much so about religion, but for the most part, it was all about political gain and resources, just like every other aspect of medieval Europe history and Dark Age Europe history. It's about money, just as it always has been. So I hope that this video has been informative, and I hope that you guys were able to learn a few things and kind of get some information about it. What this means for reenactment is that, you know, this is a solid starting place for you to really understand the Viking Age and its, you know, what makes it so beautiful. Instead of making it this epic clash of good versus evil. Of course, some people believe one side is evil, while the other people believe that they were the good guys. But instead of making it some epic clash of good versus evil, taking it down to the money. Why was this important? Why were they doing this? And looking at it from the fact that they were trying to increase trade, they were trying to explore, they were trying to colonize, they were trying to feed their families, they were trying to conquer. There were lots of motivations for all of the things that they did that had nothing to do with religion. And I think that if you can take that and at least apply it in a way to the Viking Age, you can start to look at reenacting in a different way. You could easily portray a Christian huskarl now and have, you know, a cross-wearing huskarl and everything like that, because we found several items that look oddly like crosses, but those can't be crosses because they were pagan. Well, that's not necessarily true. Taking a look at the Viking Age as a reenactor from these facts can help you recreate the true flavor of the Viking Age, instead of making it about, you know, these bloodthirsty barbarians coming in to attack everybody and ruin the Christian way of life. No, that was not the Viking Age. The Viking Age is such a rich culture of expansion. Most of the trade routes that were formed during the Viking Age later became the Silk Road. Knowing the fact that the epic clash between Christianity and paganism was not the main focal point of the Viking Age, certainly it had something to do with it. But knowing that it wasn't the main focal point helps you actually be a better reenactor, because you can actually focus on what the true beauty of the Viking Age is. We're not left with a whole lot as far as information and everything like that, but what we are left with is what we've dug out of the ground. We're left with those crafts, those painstakingly made items that were so important that they had to be decorated in the most beautiful ways by the Vikings as well as other cultures. The trade, bringing in silk from the east and trading out furs from, you know, the west. This is the true story of the Viking Age, is that it wasn't just about the conversion of Scandinavia. That's one important piece, yes, but it was also about the money. It was also about the exploration. It was also about the colonization, the conquest, the politics. Within our group, we still use hashtag #NotMyKing within our chats to talk about William the Bastard. And yes, some people are going to get on me. He's William the Conqueror. No, he's William the Bastard because hashtag #NotMyKing. We get in heated discussions about that specific political period. That month-long period from the end of the Viking Age to the Norman Conquest is just the most heated political discussion that you need these days, because we don't want to look at modern politics. Let's be honest. That's a dark corner that we don't want to go to. That's nothing to do with what we do. But being able to actually get in a 2-hour-long Facebook Messenger chat argument about something that happened almost 1,000 years ago, that's where we take this type of topic, the uncommon knowledge. That's where we take that. We take the uncommon knowledge and we search for the deeper truth. And that's what reenacting is truly about, is searching for that deeper truth so that we can understand why we are where we are by looking back and knowing what really happened. With that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you guys will like and subscribe and you know, help with the channel by getting us a little bit more popular. Share this video and see what your friends think. Open a discussion. If I can achieve anything with this YouTube channel, and truly, if I can achieve anything, I want to achieve real discussion. I want to spark somebody to dislike this video so much that they're willing to call me up and we can debate on it for 5 hours. That would make my day. So I want you to discuss this with your friends. I want you to discuss what you think about this. I want somebody to try and prove these facts wrong. And then so we can understand what truly happened. I can be completely wrong and I will be happy because we will both know more at the end of it. So with that, you guys have a good night and let's get this thing done.